Good morning, everybody. This is Scott Buckholz. I am one of the hosts today for today's featured property tour. We're going to be featuring Will Hubbard, one of our community investors. He's in Northern Kentucky, which is just south of the Cincinnati markets. Again, my name is Scott Buckholz. We've also got Yas Hakan as well, our co-host. I'm so glad you guys were able to join us today. We are going to keep everybody on mute. That would be great. We've had lots of people typing in the chat room what city and state they're from. It's always really neat to see where folks are coming from to attend these property tours, as we are a national community of investors. I would like to start out real quick. I won't take more than just a couple minutes and give a little bit about my brief story, because I haven't done that in a while on these. We do these every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. So I've been a part of this national community of investors for over 5 years now, not quite 6 years. And prior to that, I worked in the W-2 world. And my whole adult life, for over 35 years, I only worked for 2 companies. I believed I was living the American dream and going to work every day, working harder than the next person, putting in more hours, trading time for money. And I thought that was the way I was supposed to do it. I was brought up that way. And then one day I got the phone call from the corporate office saying that my department was getting downsized. And long story short, I always wanted to be a real estate investor. So that was a true blessing. At the time, it didn't feel that way, but that was a true blessing as I found this community of investors. Now I'm a full-time investor, have been for over 3 years. I do real estate in both Kentucky and Ohio, then also here in Kansas, which is where I'm currently at right now. And I love being a part of this community. I've made so many great friends, have built so many relationships and partnerships from this community. So again, I'm glad you guys were able to make it out today. I do want to put one more plug in for, we do have an event right after this. If you're on today and you love what you've seen and hear from Will, and you want to know more about our community and about the education and the knowledge that Will talks about that he's gained through the community, there is a link that you can get. If you just reach out to who invited you, they can send that to you. And that starts at 12 o'clock Eastern on the hour. So we'll wrap up in about 50 minutes today. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Will out. Will, you ready to come out?
Hey, Scott, can you guys see me and hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear, man. I see the beautiful clouds in the background, and yeah, absolutely. Take it away, Will. If you would, so some folks who maybe didn't or wasn't able to attend the last property tour that you did here several months ago, why don't you tell a little bit about your story and how you found the community and just kind of what it's meant to you, and then tell us about this awesome buy and hold property.
Okay. I guess just kind of a nutshell version on myself. I mean, I am still a W-2 employee. I found this community, let's see, it would have been December of last year, and it was actually through you, Scott. Just seeing some of the things that he was posting, and I had actually known Scott anyway, just because as a family friend, but just seeing some of the things he was posting, always been interested in real estate investing myself. I come from more of the contractor end of things. Been in the electrical industry since about 2003, but did that for a long time, worked in a lot of different trades, but that's probably more of my specialty, and then obviously my career. But yeah, last December, got in touch with Scott, started asking questions, started doing the same exact thing everybody's doing here right now, and hopped on some property tours and joined some masterminds, and just ended up taking that leap, and really haven't looked back since. Learned a lot, continuing to learn. There's just so many things I at this point realized that I didn't know. Yeah, I could just go on and probably take up way too much time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you said you didn't. You found out you don't know what you don't know, and
a lot of it.
That happens to a lot of us. Now, Will, had you already done a little bit of real estate investing before we finally got connected as far as being a part of the community?
Yeah, so I did do one deal, learned a lot about what not to do. But yeah, I hadn't found the community yet. I just kind of jumped in. I'm going to call it head first, not feet first, because I didn't have really any education. Don't recommend doing what I did there. Get educated. A lot of luck probably on my side with the first deal that I did. It was a small property in Ludlow, Kentucky. Purchased it actually through a realtor. Actually got a loan on it. And it took me about a year to rehab that. The only saving grace was, obviously I have an electrical background, did all the electrical work myself, and then had my dad actually help me on it, who's, a third generation carpenter. But that taking a year and looking back at it, there was just so much time invested in it, and I didn't really crunch the numbers, and just, again, didn't know what I didn't know. Whereas I do everything completely the opposite of how I did that. I don't buy properties. I buy numbers, right? So if the numbers don't make sense, I'm not going to buy it. Where I just sort of jumped into that one because I just wanted to get into real estate investing. So a lot of luck, and really we shouldn't be relying on luck.
Well, that's really cool that you shared that, because we've got a lot of folks on today who may have be already a part of our community. They may be doing real estate already. Maybe they haven't started with their first deal. And then we've got guests on as well that maybe they've never done a deal before and they're trying to figure this whole thing out. And, one of the things that I learned early on, Will, when I first found this community was I had more than one person tell me this. And this was coming from folks that have been doing real estate, who've been successful in real estate. So those kind of people I like to surround myself with. And I think you can relate to that as well, Will. But,
Absolutely.
They gave me a lot of good insight. But one of the things I kept hearing from people was be in a hurry to analyze your first 100 deals. Take your time doing your first deal, because there will always be a real estate deal. Right. And learning how to analyze them, you hit the head right on the nail, or the nail right on the head, as far as, really crunching the numbers, because it's something that you'll get into in a little while. We'll talk about the numbers toward the end today. Is that as an investor, we make our money at acquisition.
Yep.
Now, most people, they go, what do you mean? You make your money when you get your check at the closing table. That's when you officially put the money in the bank. Okay. Right. Hopefully you're putting money in the bank, but you made that money at acquisition, right? Will, I mean, you made that money because you bought the I don't care if it's a buy and hold or a fix and flip or a raw land development. If you don't acquire it at the right price, you're really going to struggle to make the profit, the potential profit that you're wanting to make. So, and I'll let you go from there. And I tend to jump in a lot here. So I'm going to make sure I hush up a little bit, because I know you want to show some before pictures. You're actually at the site today. So that's really cool. And I'm just so excited that you're very close on this deal, and you're ready to show it again to the community. So I'm going to go ahead and put myself on mute. I do want to let everybody know, please type in the chat room any questions that you might have. We'll get to those questions in about 20 minutes or so. And we'll wait to answer some of those questions, because a lot of times, the investor, they'll actually answer those questions for you as they go through it. So, and then we'll go over the numbers toward the end. Is that okay, Will?
Yep.
All right. It's all yours, buddy. I'm going on mute.
All right. Well, I'll just go ahead. Nothing's really changed too much on the outside. So if you were at the last one, I'll go ahead and show it, other than some concrete work is taking place out here. Obviously, there's a deck missing right there, but we're expanding the driveway. There's my little beater work truck, but you know, just expanding the driveway there. And then we're going to be doing another pour right there, obviously for some support for the deck that you don't see yet. But yeah, not a whole lot has really changed on the outside. We got windows getting repaired / replaced next Thursday. And then, you know, obviously at the very end here, we'll get this puppy painted up. And yeah. Before I go inside, it probably would be good for folks that haven't seen this. Let me start this here. All right. And here's some of the before pictures. Oops, am I on the right one here? There we go. Just so you can get an idea. That's this is actually one of the top floor bedrooms.
Yeah, we can see him now, Will.
Okay.
We can see him, Will.
Good deal. So this one was a rough one. It was in pretty rough shape. A lot of water damage. This is actually upstairs, which I'll show here in a little bit. So the roof needed completely replaced. I mean, it was a full gut on both floors. This is another one of the bedrooms upstairs. Some nice old wallpaper. So believe it or not, the upstairs wasn't nearly as bad as the first floor. First floor ended up having some squatters in there at some point. So, and unfortunately, I don't have like a ton of really good pictures for that one. But if you can only imagine, I mean, there was a good a good foot of trash and just debris. You can go ahead and imagine that. That needed. I know
I told you I'd stay on mute, Will, but you know, I think there might be a few people on today that see these pictures and go, "Oh my gosh, I would have walked away from it," kind of thing. Now, when I look at stuff like this, I mean, I actually see dollar signs. Now, I know that might sound silly, but you know, when I look at a property that's distressed, because there's two key things, and I know you will agree with this, Will, that we're looking for as an investor. We're looking for distressed properties and we're looking for motivated sellers. And, and typically our best deals, not only right now, but on a normal basis, are for sale by owner. Those are our best deals that we find. Okay. And if it's distressed and that seller is motivated, that's when I see value that I can add and get that property where it needs to be as far as ARV. Man, that is something you could, when you started going through them, you could tell that somebody was living in there like that.
Yeah, definitely rough shape. Yeah, this, let's see here. That is actually, I'll show you guys that. You can see there's some sunlight there. So that's actually a wall on the first floor that got hit by a car. There we go. That's some of the first floor. There we go. That's a pretty good picture of what the first floor looked like. All right. Well, now that you've seen that, I can zoom in here. No, I guess I can't zoom, but you can see right there. Obviously, you can tell the difference in color. And there's some AC units there now, obviously, but That's that one picture you guys were just looking at where the brick had gotten destroyed.
How did you find this unit, Will?
This was through a wholesaler.
Through a wholesaler. Now, that's really interesting, and I'm glad you shared that because, you know, there's a lot of wholesalers out there, and I know you and I have talked about this a lot. So if you're on today and that is a strategy that you're really trying to achieve or, you know, actually execute and become successful at, you know, there are a ton of wholesale. Just in the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky market, there's like over 1,000 people actively doing wholesaling. And, you know, I know a couple of the top wholesalers that are doing, you know, 50 to 100 units a month. And, you know, talking to those folks, you know, there's about 20% of the wholesalers doing about 80% of the volume. And so if you're going to be a wholesaler, you know, you got to really know what you're doing. You got to really be able to analyze and be able to present the facts straight because, Will, I'm sure you've experienced this, but a lot of things I get sent to me, they're not deals.
Man.
Not at all.
90% of them. At least for me anyway. Yeah, I get a lot of just, you look at it and you're like, how in the world did they come up with that number? But yeah. So this is the first floor though. You know, just contractor grade cabinets. Again, this is a buy and hold, going to be a rental. So not going super elaborate here. You know, just a pretty typical sink, faucet, just your standard. You can buy these slabs here at Home Depot for countertop in all kinds of different colors, but I think you can get like an 8 or 10 foot slab and also get the miter cut, which is your angle cuts, you know, for like $70, something like that. But yeah, this is the room that still hasn't been done. Obviously we had to pour some footers. That got done the other day. So contractors will be in here next week knocking this out. Did have some delays, you know, which those are just things you got to plan for, and we can talk more about that. But some delays and permits and things like that. So usually when I'm doing my numbers, I always have like a 15% buffer in whatever number it is that I come up with, just to account for things like that. But yeah, had some delays and permits just because the city wasn't moving forward, and shouldn't blame just the city. Originally, they didn't like our first drawing, so we had to resubmit. But those are, again, things you got to plan for. They can happen. So, but that'll be getting done next week. But other than that, this unit's pretty well ready to go. We did add this laundry room. Nobody likes to walk down staircases, right? So we just framed this all in, added a laundry room here. So somebody will be happy about that. But this will be kind of your kitchen / dining area. There's a hole right there, as you can see.
I like that hole.
We got to spell it out, Scott. We want people sticking their foot in there. So haven't put the glass on yet, but couldn't tell anyway. This is all pretty well done. Just needs touched up, painted, a few little patches here and there. Just your standard tub and tub surround kit. Something interesting actually about this though, and I still couldn't to this day tell you why they did it, but actually about like right here at the door, they had this built down, and why we never could figure out, but obviously I took advantage of the space. We tore it all out and raised the ceilings up, makes it feel a lot bigger. All right, so that's got to be at least a good, I haven't measured it, but 12 feet up, maybe more.
Yeah, and what year was this home built, Will?
Oof, gosh, I don't know.
Was it early 1900s or late?
Yeah, early
1800s. Okay. You know, one of the things that I'm sure you see, and you're talking about it right there in that property, is a lot of these you go into. There was a time period where they did a lot of drop ceilings. They did a lot of
Mm-hmm.
soffits with nothing in the soffit. They just built soffits. And, of course, drop ceiling, a lot of times they did that to hide their electrical or some kind of vent work or something like that. But it's amazing when you open those up, how much bigger the rooms become. And, that's awesome. So you and I talked before we started today. That floor, I think we bought the same floor from Home Depot, because that is the exact floor that I put in the 9-unit apartment building here in Topeka, Kansas, where I'm actually at right now. And that's kind of funny because I didn't notice that before. And that is the exact same floor. So I love all the different earth tone colors and your gray walls I use a lot of gray wall paint. That's something that's very popular right now. Really
go
popular.
with what's popular, right, Scott?
That's right.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. We just did, this is the other bedroom. Looks a little better than the other bedroom I just showed you, but this will be a two bed, 1 bath in the bottom here. We just did some little surface mount LEDs. They actually look like can lights, but those are just surface mount. They actually have a junction box behind it. It's not your typical can light, but those are really cool, and they really do light up these bedrooms and like hallways and everything really, really well. So put those all throughout. They're not super expensive. I think those are like $17, maybe $20 a piece. Whereas a typical can light, with trim and everything, I think those are probably more around like $40, $50 a piece. Memory serves me. All right.
So when you bought this property, Will, I mean, you already showed the pictures beforehand of the shape that it was in. There were squatters at some point in there. A vehicle had drove into the back side or edge of the building. I mean, it was in pretty rough shape. But before it really, went down in overall shape as far as the condition of the property, how many bedrooms and bathrooms was the unit before you took over?
So I actually left them all the same. That this actually was a 2-bed, 1 bath. And then even upstairs, it is a 3-bed, 1.5 bath, which we'll go check that one out here now. But I didn't change anything. Ran all my numbers based on that. I was going to change it into a 3-bed, 2 bath upstairs, but it honestly didn't make a lot of sense to me. I could still get the same rent, in my opinion. So didn't do that. Left it alone.
So you're talking numbers and how important numbers are and how to analyze those numbers. And so you're basically telling everybody upstairs the difference in a 3-bed, 1.5 bath and 3-bed, 2 bath. You didn't see getting that much or if any more rent for that. And so why spend the extra money? Why spend another $5,000 or whatever to get that into a full bath? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, anytime we're putting money into a property, like I've got a property right now, Will, you've seen the pictures of it. It's an old Victorian there in Cincinnati. And we ran the numbers on whether the old garage was about to fall down. We're going to actually tear it down. And we're trying to look at the numbers of it's going to cost us about $15,000 to put a new garage up. Power, roof, windows, garage door opener, or we can tear it down and pour a new concrete slab, a 2-car slab, and we're just looking at will we get $20,000 more for the sale of the property, and we won't by putting that garage in. So again, it's all about the numbers, and there's got to be a trade there. If you're going to spend $10,000 here, can you make 12, 15 back? If you're good. And so that's awesome that you shared that. That's really cool.
Before we go upstairs, do we need to answer any questions, Scott? I've seen quite a few popping up on my screen.
Yeah, let's go
sure.
through some of these. Let's go through some of these questions. Again, we appreciate everybody's input and feedback. There's been a lot of compliments right here. Yeah, Kenneth, it looks like a property Detroit. Someone says it looks like a Baltimore. It looked like a Baltimore property when you bought it. Let's see. Great comment about what location, Vic? It's in northern Kentucky. It's in a community called Covington. It's a river community, and it's just south of Cincinnati. We've got Ludlow, Covington, Newport, Bellevue, Dayton. Those are all right together, like one after another, right along the river. Thank you. She says it's coming out beautiful. Is the city requiring you to keep a certain look about the building? Do you have any requirements? I know you didn't talk about historical, because obviously when you get into a historical house or property, there's a lot of hoops to jump through, and you got a lot of expenses, obviously. Is there anything the city's requiring you to do on the outside of the building?
Nope, not on this one. Okay. I know you got one of those, but yeah, I try to stray away from that right now. But, again, that's where, I think you had mentioned earlier, if I ever ran into that, Scott, I'd be coming to you because you have experience with historical. So that's one of the other great things, again, about the community. We can leverage each other and leverage each other's experience. That's what I love about it.
Yeah. So someone asked about, what a wholesaler is. Do you want to take that, or do you want me to take it?
I mean, I'll give my 2 cents and you go ahead as well. I mean, a wholesaler is somebody who, they're not a realtor, right? But they are out there actively trying to find properties from, folks that own them. They're a lot of times looking for distressed properties. They're not, going through a realtor. So it's an individual who, it's an investment strategy, but it's a very saturated investment strategy, in my opinion. I've wholesaled one property in my 3-year investment career now. But it is very, very, saturated with a lot of folks that, basically are just trying to find people with distressed properties, get them under contract. And then what they're going to do, is basically, if I go get a property under contract for $10,000, well, I'm going to assign that contract to you. I'm going to sell you the contract. So I'm going to sell it to you for $15,000 and I'm going to make the spread. Right. So that's, I guess, in a nutshell, what I'll say on it, Scott. They're just making a spread on the property.
That's good. So you don't, as a wholesaler, you don't actually take ownership of the property. You have the right, and you have a contract to sell the property for the seller. There's a determined price that it's being sold at. And typically there's a contract for a length of time. It could be 60 days. It could be 90 days that the seller's giving you the right to sell the property. And, you said it, it's a very saturated strategy. And there's a lot of people. And the reason is, guys, is because, wholesaling is just one type of strategy in real estate investing. There's like over 30 some different types of real estate investing. But wholesaling, for most people, they feel like, hey, I can get in it with little or no money down. Well, you do need to have money. You do have to market. You do have to spend some money there, but it's a low risk as well. And so sometimes people jump into that first, and, you just be cognizant of this, is no matter what market you're in, there's going to be a lot of people out there doing that strategy. So don't get frustrated and go, well, I'm going to do wholesaling. Because I know I've got a couple folks that I talk to that, they say, well, I've been doing it for a year or so and I've never done one deal. So they start to, all of a sudden, their real estate investing ambition and their dreams start to slip a little bit because they don't see the results. So wholesaling is a low risk, but it's also a tough thing to get into. And so, yeah, thanks for sharing that. Now, we talked about finding that property, Will, through a wholesaler. As being a part of this community, Will, I'll take this one. We do have access to a software platform that's called the iOS Investor Operating System. And it's only if you're a part of our community that you have access to this. And it is an amazing tool to find deals off market, to find private lenders, find pre-foreclosure, find absentee owners. It's got a tool to analyze your property to come up with your rehab budget. You have access to flip comps, which is basically MLS, so you don't have to be a realtor. It's a wonderful tool. And if you're out today and you're checking out this property tour, we actually have some trainings on that. So whoever invited you out can get you to those trainings, and there's no charge for them, but you can actually experience what that is all about. And it's an incredible tool, okay? And there's a charge to it, but it is definitely an awesome tool. And it's because being a part of the community and actually digging into your education to gain your knowledge, you can get a very good discount on that tool. So a little bit about that. Let's get a couple more questions, because I know you want to go upstairs and we're going to go through the numbers. So it says, CB's asking, did you have anybody that's a part of your quote team that helps you determine the planning for this property? Like what went into the property, the finishes, things like that. I think that's what CB's asking. Do you have people helping you do this, or is this something that you are doing on your own?
No, there's definitely people helping. So I think, again, that's another, I knew about it, but I think, our community has a good way of referring to it as, building your cabinet. So before you go jumping into things, you want to have, a good solid general contractor. Maybe you want to have a good solid electrician, or, multiple, really. I mean, folks are really, really busy. I can tell you right now, Scott, I think you would agree. Contractors they're just slammed right now. Right. And they are not hurting for work. Yeah. So I'll just say, you want to have a good cabinet of people. You want to build that up. It's not hard to do, just put some time in and, start vetting people out. You kind of interview folks, and, you can, I mean, especially with social media now, I mean, geez, you can see people's work, and if they're posting their work and they have good references, make sure they're insured, all those good things, then you build up that team. So on that, you got a general contractor, you've got, electricians, you've got plumbers, you've got your HVAC guys, you maybe got some laborers. I've got some guys that just, they're probably more handyman, maintenance guys, but I have rental property. If you want to focus on just flips, then you don't need to maybe worry about that, right? But, just all real estate attorneys, you want to have your insurance folks. I mean, just everything. You want to have that team kind of built up and in place. Before you go jumping into things. And I think you mentioned it earlier, that's where it's helpful to be involved in, a community with folks that, they've been doing it for years,
Right.
Because they can help you overcome a lot of those hurdles that would probably, stress somebody out or cause them to never want to invest again because they jumped in head first the way I did. And, again, I got lucky. But we shouldn't get lucky. There's a method to doing this where you really, really mitigate risk, and otherwise people couldn't make a living doing it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So,
yeah. So, somebody, one of our folks, our guest today, was talking about, that question as far as, did you have any help? Understanding the market, understanding your exit strategy is so crucial. And I know you'd agree with that, Will. So, you're not finishing this house to flip it. Okay. You're finishing this house, even though that is a possible exit strategy. And I know that me and my partners there in Cincinnati, we did some duplexes, and we initially went into them to do buy and hold. But because the market has got so crazy,
right,
we were able to jump our ARV about 50 to 55,000 higher than what we were going to initially come up with. So we decided to flip them and take that capital, and we can invest that in other properties that will generate even more cash flow. But knowing, like in those properties, what's real quick, the rents, what's the bottom one going to rent for, and what's the top one going to rent for?
9 on the bottom and 1,300 on the top.
Okay, so when you're looking at as a buy and hold, and you're going, okay, I want to achieve 900 and I want to achieve 1,300. Will doesn't just come up with those figures. He knows the market. He knows what the going price is for a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, what the going price for a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath is. And he knows the difference in, okay, what's the going price for one that's been rehabbed and it's fresh and it's new and it's a well-desired one compared to a 3.5 bedroom that maybe is 20 years old and it's never been updated. So knowing all that kind of sets the standard of like, what kind of money do you put into the vanities and the light fixtures and the sinks? And, you know, I noticed you've got the linoleum or the vinyl countertop, you know, it helps you decide, do I put granite in? Do I need granite to get $900 a month? Do I need granite, or do I need, you know, a $400 vanity instead of a $120 vanity or an $80 vanity to get those numbers? So knowing your market, knowing, you know, having relationships like you talked about, like with a realtor. Like I've got some good realtors I work with, and then I can ask them, I'm going to, you know, what's the other properties offering? What are the other rental properties in that market offering? You know, do they have solid wood floors, or do they have LVP? You know, that's what you're using there, you know. So those are all really, really important. So I do want to get a couple more questions, and let's get to that second floor here.
I'll start making my way.
Got lots of compliments coming in. Yeah, this is not hardwood floor. This is an LVP finish, which, like, I think it's the exact same floor I bought. It's got like a 30-year warranty. It's got a moisture barrier or vapor barrier underneath of it.
I use it in all rentals.
Yeah, that's right. And instead of carpeting, you got it.
Yeah.
Is there a basement in that property, and do you have to do any updating in that or anything like that?
There was. I didn't want to go down there in case I had lost signal on you guys. There's a really big basement. It's basically the entire perimeter of the building.
Yeah,
finished,
I know last time we went down there, Will.
Storage.
Yeah, I know last time we went down there, you lost signal and the audio and video chopped out and all that. But do you have to do much down there as far as clean up?
Nope.
That's awesome.
No, well, yeah, so clean up, just had to clean out a bunch of stuff, but it was just wood and just some old debris. It actually wasn't as bad as the unit floor. And then obviously that's where the new mechanicals went in, right? So the new furnace, the new water heater for that unit is all in the basement, new panel, and then, ran all the plumbing down there and stuff like that.
So no structural, no foundation repairs to speak of, anything?
No.
That's awesome. Good bones then. Is the
good
saying,
bones,
right?
Yeah. Distressed, but that's good bones.
Yeah.
Very solid.
So I'm gonna before I go back on mute, so you can go ahead and talk about second floor, and then we'll get to numbers and answer any final questions. I do want to remind everybody today, if you're out kind of checking out the community, checking out this property tour, someone thought enough of you to invite you out today, and you want to learn more about what Will's talking about. You've heard us talk about the community, you've heard us talk about some education, different things like that. You want to get back to invited yet, because right after this at 12 o'clock Eastern, we have what we call a business introduction meeting. And it basically expands on a lot of stuff that Will was talking about our community, about our education, about the iOS software system. And, it's an incredible software system. It is different than PropStream. It's similar, but I believe it offers a lot more than PropStream does. I saw someone ask that question. But get back to who invited you, and they can get you set up and get that link. So we'll go ahead and take it over for the second floor, and then we'll get to numbers as well.
Okay. So we did, same flooring on the landing here. And then this is, there is a staircase, as you come in. And then obviously you'll have your three-way switch. We're going to do like a commercial grade carpet. Just be a little bit sturdier. on these stairs, and then we'll just hit the landing up here with the same flooring, and then you know, same LEDs on each landing. And then we'll come up here. So this unit's really cool. The ceilings are very, very high. Bedrooms are really, really big. Obviously, a lot of debris and stuff still. Tried to situate it enough for the property tour, but you guys get the gist of it. Kind of same flooring and same paint and everything all throughout. Nothing really different, just bigger, more space, more rooms. And this right here is what they call B-board. Very sturdy. But that's where your washer and dryer will go. And then we've got the first floor of the top unit. Bathroom here. Don't have all the bulbs in, but same stuff really that you guys saw in the downstairs unit. And then this will be the door for the deck. Once that goes in, here's your mechanical room, new furnace, water heater, new panel, kitchen. And same cabinets, countertop, microwave, fridge. And then one more bedroom. This will actually have a door as well, going out on the deck.
So I saw a nice return vent there for your HVAC system in that room you just left. So did you have to, or did you update and add additional returns throughout the house?
No, most of it was already in place. They had just very old units, they weren't salvageable. So a lot of the stuff was already in place when I bought this. You know, so it actually, you know, it had a service, it was just old and, you know, needed replaced, but the layout you're looking at right there, that's really the same layout it was. It's just I had to replace it with new.
So no major structural changes. You didn't have to tear any walls out, add any LVLs for supports, load bearing walls, things like that.
Correct. So this actually goes up to the top floor here, and then we'll do the same kind of carpet. But again, it'll be more like a commercial grade. So somebody asked if there was any molding. No. I mean, you can see like all the molding around like the perimeter up here is new. Down there where we just were, there is some of the original molding, which I love in these old homes.
That question, Will, may have been molding from, because you said you had a leak in the roof. That might have been that type of question about, I think it might have been that.
Bad molding, got it. You know, no, there was no, it was just water damage, but no, we didn't really see any mold. You would think there would be, but there was no like black mold or any of the stuff that I'd come into. I mean, I think it would just come in here, damage the drywall and dry up eventually. I mean, I believe it or not, did not come into contact with any mold in any other units. Just a lot of drywall damage, floor damage.
So did you end up ripping out most of the drywall and gut it? You said it was a full gut?
Yep.
So, you know, I did that house last year that was a firehouse. and it had sat for a few years with a lot of water damage. And so, you know, we gutted that to the studs as well. We had to actually, on some of the floor joists, because of the fire, you know, we had to do a mediation on that. And we had to add in a lot of sistering, which is basically where you run a new floor joist next to the existing floor joists. And so we had to do a lot of that. But when we cut out all that sheetrock, you know, if there was any potential mold or whatever, it went away with that. And but great question, Drakkar. Great question. We love those. Let's see if we got a few more questions here. Let's see. I did miss Scott Eagleson had a comment about how he loved the LED surface mounts. That's really nice. You know, I've never used those before. Scott Eagleson, yeah, I've never used those before, but I do a lot of cans. I do, you know, in closets, you know, sometimes I do the LED puck, you know, the what I call low surface mounts lighting. Yeah. But I will definitely look into that as well, especially in an existing house. And let's see if we got any more questions here. How many square foot of living space is there?
Oh, you know, I don't really know offhand. I have it all written down somewhere. These are big units. I mean, just those bedrooms that we just looked at are probably like 13 by like 14, something like that. So
I think I looked
really
when you bought that
probably like 2,000 or something. I don't really know.
I think when you bought that property early on, I looked at that online, and I was trying to think it was like 2,400 square feet house.
Yeah, I have it all written down somewhere.
And that didn't include the third floor. Yeah. And so, yeah, again, we have another question about the molding. So, you know, yes, some investors, when they see potential of mold, they kind of stay away from that property. That type of thing doesn't bother me or scare me. You know, just like a firehouse, you know, I can't tell you, I've done like 3 or 4 firehouses now. And every time I do, everybody's like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe you tackled that. I mean, you know, to me, I look at distress as dollar signs for me, not spending. Right. Yes, I got to spend, but I'm going to be able to add value in those cases and be able to, and I'm sure you're the same way, Will. You're looking to achieve the high end of the ARV in that market.
Yeah.
And so I look at adding value, and, you know, that's something, you know, I know when I attend property tours and meetings and trainings, I'm always looking for golden nuggets. But, you know, if maybe I could throw a golden nugget out today, if you don't mind, Will. You know, no matter whether you're doing a flip or you're doing a buy and hold and you're going to, you know, hold on to it and rent it, you know, I always look at all my properties and what can I do to them that will set me apart from other investors in that area. What things can I do? What value can I add that people are going to look at and go, oh my gosh, I for $900 a month, I can't get that in another property, or it's hard to come up with these things for a 900 month rent. Or, you know, at a house selling for, I think the ARV on this house, I know you'll get into the numbers, is like 168,000, right? Or something. You'll get into those numbers.
Being really conservative.
Yeah, that's being very conservative. When you showed me that, I was like, "Oh, I think you're about 30 grand low." But hey, you know, it's always good to be conservative. It's always good to round down instead of rounding up when it comes to income. Now, when you're doing expenses and repairs, you always want to round up and go up.
Yes.
And when you look at income, you want to be conservative and go down. But you know, again, that's another golden nugget to throw out there, guys. But definitely always look at what you can do to a property that will help you or set you apart from the, if you want to call it, the competition or what the other investors are offering. And so great questions here today. It says, what strategies will you use to best get your income on this property? Well, obviously, it's a rental property. Are you looking at short-term rental? Are you looking at long-term rental property or tenants? What are you looking at as far as, if you all of a sudden finish that house, Will, and you go, man, this thing could sell for a little over 200. Would you consider flipping it, or would you hold on because the monthly passive income is where you want to be?
I'm just going to hang on to it. And that's just, again, that's kind of, I know we talk about investor IDs, right? That's mine. I'm a buy and hold investor at heart. So I'm not really chasing the quick sale, quick cash. I like cash flow. I'm a cash flow junkie. And
there
then
you go.
I love all the tax benefits and depreciation, which, we could take up a whole multiple hours on that, right? So, yeah.
So we're down to just a couple of minutes. So let's get to the numbers. I do want to say hey to Tamara, who's on today. You are absolutely right, Tamara. We're talking about mold issues or fire issues. She's saying more discount, and she's got dollar signs when you buy it. Right, that's exactly correct. It allows you to get deeper discounts. And so that's an excellent comment. Let me pull up the numbers here if I could, Will, and we'll go over that because we're down to about 2 or 3 minutes. We want to give enough time for people to jump onto that business introduction meeting right after this. Can you see the numbers I've got pulled up on your phone?
I see them. Does everybody else see them?
If you can see them, they can see them.
Okay.
So we are in business. So go ahead and talk about the numbers. We're down to just a couple minutes here. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, you can tell the acquisition price, $22,000. A little bit on that was, originally they were asking like $40,000 when I first, and that was the wholesaler, when I first looked at this property and started dealing with them, which, that would have never worked with my numbers, right? So it was about a week that went by, and I think he hit me up again. He's like, hey, are you still interested in this? And just where would you be at? Because I made him an offer, and I was like, that's where I'm at. I can't budge from that. So he was like, all right, let me talk to, the owner, and lo and behold, they made it work. Right. So he made a little spread on it. I think the owner just obviously wanted out, and, the wholesaler stopped trying to make so much money on it.
There you go.
But anyways, yeah, so acquired it for that. $94,000 is really just the rehab cost, that was projected. I think we're still doing pretty good on this one. Last I checked, I use QuickBooks, so I'm tracking everything in there, but we're still doing pretty darn good on this as far as rehab cost and holding costs when I'm all said and done. So that's what you were looking at there when we. I think somebody even asked earlier, hey, how'd you plan that? Again, that's just looking at the property, walking through it with my general contractor, my other contractors, getting a really good idea of what we're going to do and knowing what the number was. And then also knowing, exit strategies, what's the property worth, what's the market, both for selling it, both for rent. You can see there's no money costs.
Let people know what makes up holding costs, Will. We got some newbies on here today, what makes that up?
So you're going to want to have insurance, right? You're going to want to insure your property. If something bad happens, you're going to want to factor in for trash. You're going to want to, you got to have power here for your contractors to work on it. You probably want to be nice and let them have a place to go to the bathroom once those get installed. So that's just what I do anyway. Obviously if the bathrooms aren't installed, you may need to factor in some of the porta potties or something, just depending on where it's at. Again, it's just all kinds of different things that aren't really making up all the material or anything that's going into the property. There's just a list of things that you should be thinking about. Lawn care, you don't want to be getting, cited by the city. You got to factor, are you doing it? Are you going to pay somebody to do it? All kinds of different things, right?
So your potential rents on these are $2,200. And we always use the word potential. It could be a little higher, it could be a little lower, but this is your potential rent, $2,200.
Yeah. And when, you mentioned it earlier, there's lots of different sites you can go to. Zillow even does it. Everyone's probably familiar with that. Lots of different ways you can figure out what the rents are. You know, for your area, I never go with the highest, even though I probably could
Yep.
because, you know, this property is completely brand new, but I usually take kind of that, you know, mid range on what I know I can get and what I see things renting for. And that's how I came up with the 900
Yeah, those
and
are
the
definitely,
1300.
yeah, that's definitely mid-range for where you're at down there. And your mortgage will be 840, 851 when you refi it out.
Yep. So your, you know, PITI, right? Principal, interest, taxes, insurance. That's what you're looking at there. That'll be 851. And then expenses. You know, when I'm running my numbers, again, you just got to figure out what makes sense for you and the area and all that. But I'm
Yep.
usually figuring in about 5% vacancy, 10% maintenance, you know, 10% miscellaneous, and then probably even another 10% just expenses, or like, you know, maybe potential capital expenses, right? So
Yep.
that's really what's making up that whole number that, you know, I'm putting in that buffer before I come up with my potential cash flow of 691 per month.
So as we're wrapping up here, because we're at the top of the hour, it's 10:58 Central Time, 11:58 Eastern Time. You're going to potentially make a cash flow of around $691 a month on one property. And you talked about your investor ID was, you know, cash flow, passive income, rental properties. This is just one rental property. Folks, can you imagine having 10 of these? I mean, what could anybody do with an extra $7,000 a month? Okay. And your tenant's helping you pay your mortgage, and you're getting depreciation, and it's appreciating. You never want to bank on appreciation, but your property is going to increase in value, and your tenant's going to help you pay your mortgage, and you're going to cash flow $700 a month after everything's said and done. Will, that's a winner. You're knocking this out of the park, sir.
I appreciate that.
Well, guys, we appreciate everybody coming up. We do have to wrap up. It's at the top of the hour, guys. Please come out next week at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. We are going to be featuring investors TJ and Jacob out of Greensboro, North Carolina, next Saturday. The Saturday after that, we're going out to California, and we're going to be a short-term rental property with Cecilia Hakey. That's 2 weeks from today. And then 3 weeks from today, we're going to be featuring myself. And I haven't decided if I'm going to do new construction. I think I'm going to do my fix and flip, the Victorian one. So, guys, thank you for joining us. Get back with who invited you. And we appreciate you guys coming out. Have a great weekend.